The original paintwork of the body, traditionally for cars of this manufacturer, is thin and soft, which is why it quickly occurs chips and scratches. However, today this is not so relevant, since there are already many instances in which the most problematic places, the roof edges, seals, door edges and wheel arches have already been repainted. Quickly enough, the paintwork will also cover the bumpers. But the metal of the outer body panels is made in the best traditions of the Japanese automobile industry, galvanized, and resists the onslaught of the red disease well, even after 12–15 years of operation. Of course, due to age, small pockets of rust may be present on the body, but there is no talk of global problems yet. Most often corrosion appears around the rear lights in the area of U200B, U200B HE license plate, niche and front door moldings. Also, the seams in the lower part of the body and in the engine compartment are a cause for concern due to the accumulation of moisture, shock absorbers, mount and body support cups rust. Over time, the front spars, the attachment points of the mudguards, the rear support housing and the engine pan begin to rust. In advanced cases, it rots to holes. Rarely, but nevertheless, rust is also found in the inside of the car. Here, the places where the floor carpet is attached are prone to corrosion. If there are pockets of rust, they should be cleaned and repainted. For vehicles without additional underbody protection, rust may be present in the rear wheel arches, in the spare wheel well, on the load bearing elements and chassis attachment points. It is also worth noting the weak corrosion resistance of the exhaust system elements. Of the features of the car, it is worth highlighting the illogical placement of the towing eye, attached to the spare wheel niche, so towing should be done with great care, since the probability of damage to the seams of the niche is very high. The original windshield, which moreover is very fragile, does not differ in wear resistance. Sometimes the therapies of the windshield wipers fail, in which the axle turns sour, periodic maintenance is required. Often, owners also note the presence of problems with the tailgate lock switch buggy. Occasionally, the locks of the side doors fail, the motor of the lock drive fails. Headlight washers have also received a lot of criticism, which do not do their job well, but at the same time consume a lot of liquid. Due to the fact that the Nissan Note had a fairly large front overhang, the front bumper often suffers from those who like to park close to the curb. The presence of moisture in the trunk is a sure sign of the unsatisfactory condition of the glass seals or marker lights. Looking ahead, I will say that all power units are simple and reliable. Of the common disadvantages of gasoline internal combustion engine, it is worth highlighting the capriciousness of the ignition system, as well as a small resource of exhaust system elements and engine mounts. For cars that run on cheap fuel, the throttle valve often needs attention, it gets clogged and needs to be cleaned. There are also complaints about the reliability of the cooling system, in which, with frequent encounters with the reagents, the radiator and pipes become unusable. Flow. Once every 40–60,000 kilometers, the attachment belt and its tensioner need to be replaced. The need for this procedure will be prompted by a squeak or whistle that appears from under the hood. The weak point of the stock engine is the unreliability of the timing chain, which stretches on a run of 160–180,000 kilometers and starts to rattle. In cars that have passed about 200,000 kilometers, a progressive oil burn is observed, caused by the occurrence of rings. Special chemicals for decocking the internal combustion engine will help eliminate this ailment, but if the budget allows, it is better to change the rings. A little earlier, valve stem seals may require attention, tanning, since their replacement does not require the removal of the cylinder head. Since this motor does not have hydraulic compensators, it is recommended to adjust the thermal clearances of the valves every 100,000 km. If there are no extraneous sounds during the operation of the internal combustion engine, you cannot rush to the service. Of the features of the unit, it is worth highlighting its servicing to the quality of gasoline and the need to clean the nozzles every 60–80,000 km. The engine resource with timely maintenance every 18,000 will be about 300,000 km. A 1.6-liter engine is structurally more complicated than its younger brother and is more expensive to repair and maintain. For example, to replace the spark plugs, the throttle body and the plastic intake manifold must be removed. The metal from which the head of the internal combustion engine is made is quite soft, so you need to tighten the candles wisely or with a torque wrench. Since there are no hydraulic lifters here, valve clearances need to be adjusted with the selection of fairly expensive pushers once every 60,000 kilometers. It is not worth delaying this procedure, especially for owners of cars with HPO, as this is fraught with burnout of the valves and accelerated wear of the camshaft. A timing chain operates in the timing drive, the resource of which largely depends on the quality of service. For some, the chain begins to ring after 150,000 kilometers, while others have no problems even after 250,000 kilometers. Like a weaker unit, after 200,000 kilometers, there is an increased oil appetite caused by the occurrence of piston rings. This disease primarily affects cars whose owners prefer to drive at low speeds. Another disadvantage is the unreliability of the ignition unit relay, the feature of which leads to the stop of the internal combustion engine while driving, without the possibility of restarting. Or the less significant breakdowns, burnout of the muffler, exhaust pipe gasket, and failure of the engine mounts are most common. The engine resource is about 350,000 kilometers. The diesel versions of the Nissan Note use a French-made Renault engine, which was also installed on our popular Megane 3 and Fluence. The main disadvantage of this engine is overloaded liners and equipment that is sensitive to fuel quality, which together can cause a lot of trouble. You can find more information about the shortcomings of the unit in the review of the used Renault Fluence. Only two types of transmissions were available for the Nissan Note, a 5-speed manual of the F5 series RS5F and a 4-band automatic transmission Jetco RE4F03A. For cars intended for the markets of Japan and England, right-hand drive, the GF009E variator was also used. The mechanics are very reliable and do not give unnecessary trouble. Among its disadvantages, one can single out increased noise of operation, treated by a slight increase in the volume of lubricants and increased wear of the fifth gear clutch. On older cars, there are oil seal leaks, problems with the input shaft, it begins to play over time, and the output shaft bearings, humming, untimely elimination of disease is fraught with damage to the gearbox housing. As for the mechanical resource, with timely maintenance, 70–80,000 kilometers, and careful operation, it will last a very long time. The situation with the reliability of an automatic transmission is no worsen. The only thing that can ruin the box ahead of time is overheating, leakage of the torque converter seal, and prolonged operation in the dirty oil. With untimely maintenance, friction wear products are carried by oil through the transmission, clogging the solenoids, valve body channels, and lubrication system. As a result, the box experiences oil starvation, which negatively affects its service life. If the solenoids are in an unsatisfactory condition, the pressure in the clutch packs decreases and they burn. Although the variator is designed for 200–250,000 kilometers, against the background of mechanics and automatic transmission, it looks quite problematic, especially if it is careless about its maintenance. In addition, this automatic transmission painfully endures loads with sharp starts and frequent slips, the cones wear out, the belt stretches. The weak point of the variator is considered to be a stepper motor, which wears out quickly during active urban operation with numerous acceleration and deceleration cycles. On older Nissan Notes, the oil pump pressure relief valves, replacement of the pump, and cone bearings may require retention. McPherson independent suspension is used on the front axle and a torsion beam at the rear. Many owners note that in comparison with the platformers, the Nissan Note is a little harsh. Indeed, more rigid silent blocks are used here, but this had to be done for better stability of the car, since it has a rather high center of gravity. As for the reliability of the chassis, it is worth noting here that the quality of the original support bearings of the struts is not the best, which sometimes do not withstand even 50,000 kilometers. The silent blocks of the subframe are also considered quite problematic. The stabilizer struts, as a rule, take care of 30–50,000 kilometers, and the bushings can even last up to 100,000 kilometers. Over time, the stabilizer may shift slightly to the left side and clean to the side member, manifested by knocking while driving. The silent levers are asked for replacement after 70–90,000 kilometers. The hub bearings can withstand about the same amount. The shock absorber struts, depending on the loads, go 100–150,000 kilometers. In the rear suspension, shock absorber mounts are most often bothered. When using low-quality analogs, they have to be changed every 10–20,000 kilometers. If you overload the rear axle, you should not count on the long service life of shock absorbers and springs (SAG). But the silent blocks of the beam are considered eternal. The machines intended for Europe have a rack and pinion mechanism with an electric booster mounted on the steering column shaft. On the Nissan Note brought from Japan, power steering is installed. The steering mechanism of European versions is considered quite problematic. In addition to the rail, the bushings break quickly. The EUR often fails, in which the control board and sensors are not reliable. But for cars with power steering, the steering system does not make itself felt until 200,000 kilometers. Another of the weak points is the spline connection of the steering column. Over the years, it begins to play and rattle. The main complaints about the brakes are caused by the rapid wear of their consumables. In older cars, due to corrosion of the mechanism, it is often difficult to adjust the rear axle drums. In the absence of care, the guides of the fingers of the calipers need to be replaced ahead of time. Malfunctions in the ABS system, as a rule, are caused by the poor condition of the contact and wiring. The main feature of the Nissan Note is a spacious interior and a second row of seats adjustable for reach. But the finishing materials here are of rather mediocre quality, a lot of hard plastic, which is fastened with fragile latches and bothers with extraneous sounds. Of the minuses of the cabin, it is worth highlighting the weak wear resistance of the steering wheel sheath, the unreliability of the armrest, and the unfortunate location of the stove radiator. To clean it, you have to disassemble the floor of the cabin. Salon equipment as a rule works without problems. The only thing that can bother is the power window control unit buttons and the climate system, in which the fan fails over time. Rarely, but still, the heating of the driver's seat and the wiring located in the corrugation of the driver's and fifth door fail. If you are the owner of this car model, please describe the problems that you had to face during the operation of the car. Perhaps it is your review that will help readers of our site when choosing a car.